What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Microbin Films. I'm Mike Shantai. Today, I want to do a video on post-production file management. This is for all you editors and post-production people out there. Yeah, it's not the most glamorous of topics, but it's something really important if you don't want to lose all your files. So I recently opened up an old project of mine from several years ago back in film school. It was my thesis film for my final year. Me and an editor worked on it, I directed it, and I opened up this project file and I was just absolutely floored at what a mess it was. Just files everywhere in vaguely named folders. I have no idea how we found anything when we were working on this. Everything reconnected when I booted up the project. It was an Avid project, but that's just because it was all on the hard drive, so it knew where to look, but I had no idea where to look for anything. If I wanted to find a raw clip or a title asset or anything like that, no idea where anything was. And since then, I've worked in post-production houses, I've worked as a freelance editor in-house at some commercial studios, I've run my own company working in post-production, and I've developed a bit of a folder system that I've adapted and evolved over time that works for me, and it keeps everything nice and compact so that, you know, if you are taking a project on the road that you think you might have to work on, you can copy one folder over to a hard drive and bring it with you, and if you boot it up on another machine with Premiere, everything will reconnect nice and neat. So what I want to do is walk through some of these folder structures with you, and hopefully you learn something new. So let's go check out the back computer. All right. So we're here at the back computer. What I have got here is I've got a folder right here on my desktop. It is the project file management template. This is basically what I've been using for every project for the last couple of years. It's evolved, it's changed, it's adapted a little bit over time, but this is kind of what it's become at this point. So let's do a quick walk through it. So when you open it up, I copy this over to every project I work on. Within the project files folder, basically I have four kind of default folders that are in there. Premiere projects, After Effects projects, Resolve projects, and Avid. So depending on what kind of software you're working in for post, 99% of the offline projects I do at this point are in Premiere, so this gets populated. A lot of stuff involves After Effects, so the projects go in here. Resolve, this is for when you've exported a project and might need to work on it elsewhere. Resolve works in a bit of a different way with its project folder structure. Same with Avid, this would have bins and such in it. Essentially, this is where you keep all the files affiliated with whatever project software you're working with. Then in production, so I break it up by days. Camera A, for example, I have sort of this default is the A7S Mark II. Camera B might be a GoPro, and I change this if a project is different. There might be, you know, a camera C that is a, drone, so Mavic Pro. Maybe there's two A7Ss, so a camera A, A7S, camera B, A7S. So it's just that I know where everything kind of lives at this point. So then if we do multiple cards, you would just, within that, be card 1, and then card 2. So keeps everything nice and neat, clean, all the raw footage, you know exactly where it is. And that's basically all production. Anything that was captured on set, whether I shot it or I'm just editing and somebody else shot it, it all goes in there, and that is the production folder. Then 3, I have Microbin Films assets. So within this, I have a folder for After Effects renders, assets. So if there's files I generate that need to be used within After Effects, they go in there. Stock footage, if I need to purchase any for a client, music, stills, and sound effects. And essentially, this is anything that I either generate or purchase for a client will go in this folder. When I'm going through the folders and I need to find like a raw file, or I need to find a place to put new footage, I kind of have something for everything. And if there isn't a folder for it in the default, I'll build another one. So then number 4 is client assets, basically the same as Microbin Films assets. If a client sends me stock footage, like if they've purchased it and they want it, or they send me a logo or an EPS file, I'll build the subsequent folders for that, and it will go into this folder. Number 5, the folder is the exports. So every cut I do and render out goes into this folder. Dated, time-stamped if I do multiple cuts in a day. Basically anything that gets sent to the client goes into this folder. So turnover, this is for when I'm working with other post professionals. A lot of my commercial stuff that airs nationally and goes broadcast, it needs to be mixed in 5.1 surround sound, and I can't do that in my facility here. So I work a lot with a mixer named Taylor, runs his own studio. If I'm sending stuff to him, once a picture is locked, I will go into this in-out sound folder, and then I've got a folder for sound and from sound. When I'm sending something to him, I'll generate the QuickTime with timecode burn-in, like this or this, wherever it is, and then and an AAF, which has all the audio files he needs so that he can ingest it into Pro Tools, and get started on mixing right away. He's got visual cues for everything, and it gives him everything he needs. And then when he renders out the final stems for me to take into the final project, it goes into the from sound folder. And again, date everything, timestamp it if you need to, just keep everything nice, neat, and clean. Same thing applies for color. If it's going to a color studio, some of the stuff I do has to go through a proper color correction facility. VFX, I don't do a lot of stuff with VFX artists, but I have in the past. So, if they need DPX files every single frame, it'll go into 4VFX. Packaging, this is kind of any last additional files that need to go onto a spot before it's rendered out as a finished file. So like closed captioning, if it's going broadcast, a lot of the time it needs closed captions for the hearing impaired. So whether that's done by me or that's done elsewhere, the caption files will go in here and then get brought into Avid. Transcode for broadcast, we shoot in 24 frames per second a lot, or 23,976. But when it goes to broadcast, at least in Canada, it essentially has to be converted. So basically any files that need to be transcoded goes into this folder so that I can render out a final broadcast ready file. Delivery is exactly what it sounds like. These are the files that get sent to the client, the finished spots. And if you've worked in post-production, you know that the final is never the final. So you end up with files like final 1, final 2, final 3. So I do a lot of stuff that goes to broadcast. So I have my broadcast masters or finals that go into this folder, and web finals that go into this. So if a spot is going to air, but it's also going to social, like on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, they go into their respective folders, and that's what gets sent to the client. And then finally, number 9, this is where the bulk of the random files end up. This is where I send my autosaves and my preview files and everything that Premiere generates. It's there in the event that, Premiere crashes and I need to go pull up an old autosave from 10 minutes ago so that if I didn't hit Command S recently, I didn't lose an hour's worth of work. And again, all these files kind of come with me if I need to work on the road, because then the project connects instantly and doesn't need to generate all these new files because they already exist. The main idea behind all this is essentially that if this project, I'm working on a project called Project File Management Template, I can copy this one source folder right here and take it on a hard drive and work on it in another country if I need to. If I'm expecting a client to ask for some revisions at some point, I can make it happen wherever I am. Recently, I am just finishing up a project right now. It was 5 spots shot over 5 days in different parts of Canada. It involved traveling out to the East Coast, out west, all over. And by the time I was done, there was like 4,000 plus files contained within this mama folder right here. And that's a lot of files to keep track of. So if you kind of build a little bit of a system like this, it ensures that you won't lose anything. Nothing will go offline. You won't be screwed if you got to move to a different computer, or if you've shut down a project, you don't work on it for a couple days. When you boot it back up, there's not files offline because something lived on this external hard drive and something's on the internal hard drive and whatever. And it just guarantees that, like, if you go traveling, you can bring your laptop with you and edit from anywhere in the world. So that's sort of the Microbin Films method to editing. So I hope you learned something. If you have better ideas, which, believe me, somebody out there does, definitely, let me know. I'm happy to hear them. If you have a better idea, I'm willing to adapt my workflow because that's what this business is all about, adaptability. If you liked what you heard, hit the subscribe button, follow me on Instagram, like the video, but the most important thing, just keep creating, just keep making art, and I'll see you next time.